So I'm Dylan, and this is
Shane.
Shane. For those of you who don't know, Shane was my co-driver for Hammers in 26. And we're going to go do a recap now that we both finally have time to go over what happened and had a chance to recover and get caught back up at work and everything else. So this was our second time ever going to Hammers, our first time competing at Hammers. And we survived. We didn't come home with a ball of parts in a box, so take that as a win. But we're gonna go over our experience for Hammers as a whole. We left, or I should say I left the 2 Wednesdays before race day. So we got out there the Friday before. Sorry. Yeah, Friday before we were out there. And got camp set up, got our high quality Temu erector set tent set up, which was a godsend out there on the lake bed. But I got out there Friday. Shane and Chris flew out on Saturday and got their wonderful rental RV, which was a treat in itself.
It was an experience, that's for sure.
So, you know, if you ever rent an RV out there, they charge you for absolutely everything. From, what was it, $3 an hour on the generator?
$3.50 an hour to run the generator.
So if you ever do plan on going out there in an RV, I think they charged you for pillows and...
Yeah, absolutely everything. It's bare bones, bare mattresses. There should be no utensils in there. Somebody left utensils in there from the previous rental, so when we had that, but it's bare bones. It's like a tent on wheels.
Yeah, so it's, what was it, a V10 E350?
I think it had the Godzilla motor in it, but yeah, nothing spectacular.
Chinese special Godzilla motor.
Yeah, Godzilla.
It's called Godzilla. So if you ever plan on doing something like that, just a reminder that stop at Walmart, buy all your stuff ahead of time, have somebody, I actually hauled Chris's generator out there so that they would have something that did not cost an arm and a leg to exist. I drove out there in my dually with my race trailer with Cody and Lash, and we ended up driving straight. We drove to Bullhead, Arizona straight through, realized we were going to show up at Hammers at like midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. So Troy used a bunch of his hotel points and we crashed for the night, ended up getting out there at like 9 o'clock-ish, or 10 o'clock on Friday, something like that. Brandon Anderson, the other guy we were racing with, they ended up driving straight through, got there at like 9 o'clock in the morning. One of the guys that they were riding with had a huge amount of tire and issues and had the hitch break off the trailer. Oh, hitch broke off the toter, and they had to buy a welder, weld it back on. Thankfully, our traveling experience for the roughly 2,000 miles we traveled out there was nowhere near as bad. But got everything set up, got the car, we had the car set up with basically the factory shocks on it. We wanted to get a baseline. The shocks I ran at the end of last year were giving us some problems. We were bottoming out. It wasn't right. So our big goal for day number 1 was to try to get a idea on shocks. And so we threw the factory shocks, factory springs. This is it's a 22 Polaris Turbo R Ultimate. So this does have the Fox live valve on it. So I would love to say that my knowledge of coilovers is this vast and I can tell you, rebound and compression and know exactly what's going on. That would be a lie. And I don't really feel like fibbing you that much. I'm graciously learning from other people as I go on how to make these shocks work and how to make this machine work in general. So we went out in the desert first go around trying to find a good spot to just get the suspension worked out. And that first section really wasn't I would say very drastic, a couple little rollers, but even with the stock shocks on in that situation, I believe the term I used is we got a little Western. We tried having the ass end catch the front end.
Almost lawn dart.
Yeah, borderline trying to meet the ground at speeds that I did not want to meet the ground at. I'm going to try to throw a video in here. Like Heather sent me a video of that, just doing some practice out there, and we went out, did that, realized, all right, this is not going to work. Went back to camp, and we took the shocks that were on at the end of last year and put them back on the car, which they were, I would want to say, the rebound was good, but the compression was way too light, so that if we'd hit a spot really hard, it would bottom out.
Put different coils on too.
No, those were the original coils that were on, and at the end of last, we just put the full shock back on. Went out, find a better spot to test, and was going really well. Didn't hate how it was going on. We would still bottom out, and it's like, all right, it's going good. It gives us at least a baseline, and we can get out and start doing pre-running and start pre-running rock trails, because we were hoping to get as much in as we could for the limited amount of time we had. You know, we started this on Saturday, so we had Saturday to do shock tuning and pre-running. We had Sunday, and then Monday was qualifying, and so on and so forth. It's the couple days you get out there from when you get the trail map to when you have to race are very limited. So we were kind of, I don't want to say behind the eight ball, but we weren't ahead of it by any means. So we went out, did some pre-running. I think we started at, what was it? We started at Chocolate Thunder. I ended up pre-running Chocolate Thunder to the right-hand side. That went really well. Caveman broke an axle shaft, so we went back, swapped that out. And I don't think we even got back out until Sunday. And then it was Saturday night, went out and did a pre-running on the qualifying course, and that didn't go super well. The rock ledge they had there was where Caveman got up it by basically the skin of his teeth, and I went through and gave it 2 pokes and ended up rolling over and then on my side, and we winched it back over. Had to readjust a bunch of this front end, and we bent the winch bumper, so we've got all that put back where it needs to be, and race acceptable. Went out, got everything ready to go on Sunday. We went out and pre-ran from the top of Chocolate Thunder out to Remote Pit. So we did Claw Hammer, Thor's Hammer, Dirty Love. We ended up, I believe it was on a section on Claw Hammer. We had put it on its side again. I'm still learning how to rock crawl something that's got a rear engine with trailing arms and a lot more suspension travel than what I'm used to. I mean, my rock crawling experience is with my buggy, and it does not translate to driving a side-by-side at all. So went through, did all that, and then started getting things prepped. We got back. Did we go out Sunday night to do the first part of the desert lap?
I believe so.
Yeah, we went out and ran the first part of the desert lap Sunday night, and then instead of going, we missed the turn to Remote Pit, so we did the first section, the first 10 miles of the desert lap, and then we went right into Outer Limits and Spooner, or we went into Spooners and Outer Limits right away. Realized, yeah, this isn't getting the navigation and stuff figured out, realized we're on lap 2, not lap 1. So at least we got some pre-running in for Spooners and Outer Limits, at least to a point. Monday, started getting stuff prepped for qualifying. We were in the 11 o'clock hour for qualifying. Caveman was in the 9 o'clock hour, and we're sitting there. I'm sitting there back at camp. Everyone's up watching Caveman. I'm getting my stuff prepped, ready to go. And Shane actually came up to me and says, like, hey, Caveman rolled bad. And I'm like,
you could hear it from the announcers at the main stage back at our camp that he had done a spectacular barrel roll down the hill. And typically when they point something out like that, it's good entertainment for the race, but it's not so good for the racer.
So brought the live stream up right away and got to rewatch the barrel roll and went from, all right, I can do this, to fuck. Because that was to see that rollover, and I think they want to say it was like 3 complete overs.
They keep saying 3.5, but it feels to me like it was more than that.
But he had visually a very bad roll. It did a number on the car. Actually had collapsed. The passenger side was probably, when they brought it back, 6 inches lower than the driver's side was. The fact that they got up and walked away with a headache and, you know, some sore necks and a couple of bruises and stuff like that is an absolute miracle. I mean, it attests to the amount of work that he had into that car, that he took that hard of a roll at that kind of speed, and they drove the car back. I mean, end of story is they drove the car back. At the end of the day, that is all that matters in that situation, is they were able to walk away from it. The fact that we were able to get the car back up and going with the help of the fab school out there, and the amount of parts that Caveman brought with, is a miracle in itself, because there's been rolls like that before that people have just walked away from. So I got that playing in my head now, that they Caveman barrel rolled and ended up was going to be qualifying in the back, or starting in the back of the pack now, if we could get the car back together. And that was the thoughts at the time. Got all my stuff prepped. I did qualifying on my own, but went up there, got in line for the 11 o'clock hour. And I want to say you can see the live stream on the channel of the qualifying. I sat in line there for, I think, 45 minutes. And they want you to show up early. They want you to be in line early. You know, don't think that if you ever decide you're going to do this, you know, show up early, understand you're going to wait. That's just, it is what it is. They want the people there ahead of time so that they can have everything lined up, ready to go. And when it comes time for your slot to go through, they'll pull you out on the track and get you lined up. So sat there, had people come over and talk to me, and got lined up to go do the qualifying run. And they had announced to us in the drivers meeting, what they're referring to as the qualifying hill had 2 really big rock climbs, and then off to the left side, the kind of the slower line, you could go up and around, and it had a couple little shelves in it. There were a lot of people that were, I say the big dogs for qualifying. Yep, we're going straight up. This is going to be faster, and so on and so forth. Well, it's really fast if you can one-shot it. It is not really fast if you don't one-shot it. So I chose already in my head, all right, I'm playing it safe. I'm going the far left line, going up and around. So got lined up, took off. I would say the first little roller there, I kind of overshot, flat landed it. Went over the next one, go up and shoot up the hill, and kind of took it easy up over top the hill. Shot down, and I'll try to throw a couple pictures in here, but I was shooting down that downhill and got to the bottom, and there's actually a spot to where jumped the rig going down that downhill, and I'll try to throw a picture in here of that. But got up over the cross grain, made it to the rock hill, shot the left side up and down, or up and around the top, down the downhill, and then they had a pretty steep downhill at the bottom of that qualifying course. Took it easy down that. Car hit a little rough on the bottom, and I'll try to throw the picture in here. The car actually bottomed out and jumped sideways. Got it gathered back up, got onto the short course, finished my qualifying run. I think I ended up with I believe it was a 2:43, which at that time put me in ninth. After qualifying was done that day, I want to say it was 47th is where I was going to start on the day of, which for first go around for me, that's amazing. I'm super happy with the qualifying run. I brought a car back in one piece, which was an absolute, godsend to me after seeing what happened to Caveman. But yeah, got that taken care of. Got the car back. I think we went and pre-ran aftershock at that point. And then we were going to start prepping the car for actual race parts. So we were running it, pre-running and qualifying. I ran it on my Rockzillas without tire spines. And then I still had the factory axle shafts and a factory diff in at that point. So we brought it back to camp, pulled all the axles, pulled the front diff, had a diff that had the upgraded billet aluminum spraying in it, and then billet aluminum wave and engagement plate from Sandcraft. Pulled all the factory axles, stuck my RCVs in, and then bolted everything up with the RCVs in place, and then the tire spines, so on and so forth. Got it to what I would say is race outfit. And then, that kind of ended Monday in general. Tuesday, all right, we're going to go do something that we've never done before, and we're going to go try to pre-run the desert lap. For those of you who are tuning in and don't know, there's not a whole lot of desert in Minnesota or Wisconsin. Some snow, but it doesn't translate to good desert pre-running. So,
and the sand that we do have around here is not long enough to get to the speeds that are out there.
And you don't experience a lot of the beat-in two-track.
No.
And the desert they have out there, I mean, for a first-timer, I had a blast, but it was definitely, you have to be able to read that terrain at speed, and it's something that I wanted to get the car out there and experience it. We had everything off. We did pull the rear shocks again, and we put in back the factory valved shocks and just put this different springs in. We had put in some, I think some 20-inch 200s and some 8-inch 250s. And we're all right, we're going to go out in the desert and test run with this because we know the other shocks were going to bottom out on us. So pre-ran the first section of the desert lap again, went and ran aftershock, and then decided, all right, let's get out on the desert lap. Went up and did Emerson Ridge, and then got out onto the flat there with a bunch of other guys that were pre-running. And there was some miserable things going on. With the shock change out in the back with the springs, the car would, what I would effectively call donkey kick on some of those big rollers, and to the point to where it's like, all right, we're just going to check up. We know this thing's not happy with what we got going on right now. We made a phone call, got a hold of the guys back at pits, says, hey, grab the set of shocks that are laying there, pull the springs, take them over to Fox. For you guys who don't know, Fox and stuff is on site there, and they're willing to help out the racers, do some shock revalving and stuff if you need be, or help you with parts. Hey, drop these off, tell them this is what's going on, and see what they can do for us. And we're going to continue pre-running the desert lap. So we got up around on a military base, and we had a couple sections to where the rear tires were definitely higher than the front tires were in some not great situations. And it's like, all right, this is not going super well. It would get out in the 2-track, and the car was just, it was dancing side to side. For those who don't know, the rear of these cars have toe adjustment bars. And we got out onto the lake bed flat, started looking the car over, and it's like, oh, the rear tires from when we had it before are now towed out. All right, well, that explains why this thing doesn't want to stay in the 2-track. It wants to, the ass end of the car was basically, I would say, effectively rear steering itself up and around on this stuff, and went, all right, whatever. Finished out we actually met back up with Caveman and Ken and Heather at that time and decided, all right, well, we'll finish out the rest of the desert lap here, and brought it back to camp. They had dropped the shocks off at Fox for us, and went and talked to the guys at Fox, gave them an in-person explanation of what was going on, and they were explaining to me, I explained to them what I had going on versus what I wanted. And the guy, sorry, I forgot the name, but it was one of the Fox techs. He's actually based out of Baxter, Minnesota. Thank you much. I greatly appreciate what you did for us. But what he did is he added valving to the rebound of the shock. So the shock, when all the weight was off of it, would literally come down and would extend too fast and actually throw the car upwards in the back. So he's like, all right, we're gonna add valving to that, to the shock, to slow the shock extension down so that the car would no longer kick. And went, all right, cool, great. They got the shocks done for us. My appreciation, threw them some money to go get some La Bufadora fish tacos. So hopefully those treated you well. But yeah, I got back to camp, pulled rear shocks again. In that process, we decided to take the 200 rear coil. We left the 250 upper coil, put that back on, and then went to a 250 lower coil, and threw all that back on the car, and went out and did to our test spot again, and literally got out there and started going through this section that I had been through with a different set of shocks, and it was night and day different. I was hitting these, what was effectively 2-foot to 3-foot rollers at 65, 70 mile an hour, and the car did not care. It was, if it were to lift off the ground, it was lifting straight up, setting back down. I effectively was driving this thing the fastest and smoothest I'd ever had the car. And at this time, I haven't even owned this thing for a year. I've not been racing Ultra 4 for a year at this point. I think I have effectively this is my 5th race under my belt at this point in a Ultra 4 standpoint. But yeah, got back ecstatic, started getting stuff ready. Wednesday is kind of an off day because we have to do tech and contingency. They run you through town and run you through different tech points. They check your cage, they check your horn, they check your chase bar, lights, brake lights,
safety equipment,
all your safety gear, put all your trackers and stuff on there. They have a lot of the reps from different companies talking about their equipment. We chatted with a couple different people, guys out there. You can buy helicopter footage of your vehicle while you're out there if you want to. So they'll go through and they'll take video of you running through the desert, and they'll sell that to you. Got through tech and contingency. And then we went through and kind of just that took us till like 3-4 o'clock almost. Kind of burned the whole day up doing that. Just started prepping for the next day. Started making sure all the parts were on the car. Trying to keep everything in order. What night before? What were your thoughts going into this whole experience? I mean, I know I was at the point where my nerves were like, all right, we're going to go run hammers now.
Well, you know, the nerves are there, not so much for me for the race, but I mean, after watching Caveman and qualifying, you know, my nerves went from probably a 10 out of 100 to about a 99 out of 100. And you know me fairly well, I don't get nervous about much anything. So, I mean, definitely the nerves had taken a toll on that. And then going out the day before, we had Fox revalve the shocks, and that was not fun.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You never went back out with me after we revalved the shocks.
No, by the time we got done with that trip pre-running, I think I was 2 inches shorter. And with that, I mean, when put the shocks back on, you went out with Chris. Chris is about the same weight as I am, so I mean, it would be relatively close to the two of us in the car, which is huge. So, I mean, race day, the nerves were there, but probably not what yours were.
Yeah.
And the big thing is making sure I got out there. I didn't want to be that guy that we just started the race and, hey, we gotta stop so this old man can pee. So,
well, you did have to get out and pee as we were in line, and had to meet me back out on the track.
At that point, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go find some place and get that out of the way, because you know it's a long race. But I want to say once we left, the first probably time, the time just goes differently when you're in there. So who knows what it was? It might have been an hour, it might have been 15 minutes, but there was a point probably right as we got to remote pit, like the nerves just went away. And it was, we got this, I got it figured out, I've got things marked, the car's doing good. And I think after we left remote pit, that's when the two of us started kind of having fun with it.
Yeah. So they want you in line ready to go at, like, you know, race day is like 6:30. They want you in line. You don't start till 8. They bring you into town. They line you up on your cone, and you sit there and you wait, and you get all your stuff ready to go. They bring you out. You start at your, you know, we were 47, so we were 24th, 23rd, 24th in line. We started on the inside, so yeah, we should have been the 24th off the line. Cars going out every 30 seconds. Yeah, get off the line, go through the short course. Didn't have the mindset. We had a discussion before this. It's like, all right, if by God's send we could finish this race, it would be a miracle in itself. If we could do anything more than that, or, you know, at least come out with not a pile of broken parts, I mean, was a win in my book. So made it through the backdoor wash. The visibility was like a -2. If you've ever, like, I think I would rather drive through fog in the middle of the cities than what that desert between. You did everything you can to try to keep your visor clear. If it wasn't for the air pumper, you'd have just been sucking dust the entire time.
There was times where visibility was less than the front of the car.
Yeah, because all the dust gathered inside the car. So, I mean, we got out onto the flat of I don't want to say even the flat, we got out of the backdoor wash, got out into the desert, and this was literally a driving by braille with a navigation. deal. I mean, you were just you were kind of feeling out where it was going. I kind of had a semi decent idea from running it the twice that we pre-ran that first section.
Or trying to follow chase lights.
Yeah, or trying to following chase lights to,
and then they go off course.
Yeah, follow the guy in front of you directly the wrong way. Because it was only 5 or 6 miles into that first lap, we had already come up on Blurton and Wolf and McCleary. For those who didn't watch the race, Blurton hit a rock, had a major tumble. Wolf hit in a similar spot. I think he had said in his live that it was the same rock. He had a major tumble. And then Mark McCleary, same thing, hit the rock, tumbled, actually landed on Wolf's car. Thankfully, everyone in that situation was okay, but we had come up on it, and there was a track course was flagging, go right, go right, go right. And all right, well, you look at the pile of parts there and go, oh, shit. But
I don't honestly remember even seeing that.
Yeah, I'm still having spots to where I do and don't remember things.
I remember them flagging it, but I don't remember seeing any of the people off course or
they were
wreckage or anything like that.
Thankfully, they were all off of the rollers by the time that we got there. But this happened within basically 7 minutes of start time. So made it past there. Started bumping through the cross grain. Made it to remote pit. We're still battling some issues on the car and learning stuff. So we said, all right, we're stopping at remote pit regardless, and we're going to top off fuel before we go into the desert. This thing, if I'm lucky, on a heavy pace, gets like 7 or 8 miles to the gallon on a 13-gallon tank. So depending on how it goes, we might have had enough fuel. We might not have enough fuel. Weren't taking a chance. I don't want to hike through the desert to get a can of gas. That sounds like a very unfun experience. Got fuel. Guys in remote pit did us good. Got going again right away. I think they bumped through and told me I was like 12th or 13th in class. All right, cool. Went out.
Radiator.
That was in main pit. We didn't even know it at that point.
I thought they saw it in remote pit and they fixed it in main pit.
No, not that I remember. They didn't say anything about it in remote that I recall. But either way, made it through aftershock. Actually, I was having fun in aftershock because we were kind of trading back and forth with a couple guys in aftershock, different rock lines. Made it out of aftershock. Got into the desert flat real quick and then up into Emerson Ridge. I overshot one corner coming down Emerson Ridge, and then had to let a guy go by at that point. Got out onto the desert flat and was just cruising. The car was eating the desert up like none other. Did not care about the rollers. It was, you're just following dust and trying to keep a decent pace. I want to say we were buzzing between 45 to 60 mile an hour at that point, just trying to keep up a solid pace and not, hopefully come up on anyone too fast or hit something dumb. It's still stupid early in the race at this point. So we go through, get out into the main part of the desert there, and then get up into the loop that went up and around the military base. And at that point, we were kind of on our own there.
Mm-hmm.
We were just cruising, and then
clean air.
Yeah, could actually like breathe for a second there. Started paying attention to the car, and the car is sitting right around 216 to 218. All right, well, that's not great. So was pushing and got up to the top of the military base and watched the temp gauge go. It was up to 232. Car went in limp mode. Great. Car's overheating. Pulled over for minute or two there, watch the temp gauge drop back down to like 208. All right, so everything's working at this point. All right, I understand that the car is not getting enough airflow, and there's nothing I can do about it at this point. Get back out into the desert and just kind of tried to keep a steady pace. Shane had great marks on the nav that we knew there were some big G outs on that military base section on the back wraparound side, and went, all right, we were just keeping a good pace. We're smooth. I mean, in reality, I couldn't ask for anything more. The overheating definitely took off of our pace a little bit, but at the same point, it probably helped keep the car together.
Well, and we were keeping pace, if not passing some big race teams.
Yeah, we were doing well. I mean, for a couple of guys that had never done it before, we were definitely keeping our own out there in the desert. So got through the desert section pretty smooth. Relatively just having a good time at this point. Got into main pit. So, all right, well, we're going to grab fuel again, just top off, check the car over. At that point, we got fuel. I think it was basically we got fueled up at that point, and then they noticed that the radiator fan was not tight against the radiator, had come out of the mounts that were on there. And that was probably a good portion of our problem, that the fan was not tight to the radiator, so we were not getting good air pull out of the radiator at this point. A bunch of duct tape and zip ties later, it was secure enough to go again. So, you know, you do what you got to do at race time. Sometimes duct tape and zip ties is all you get.
Yeah, it's the red-green repair.
Yeah, it's race day is well, it's like wheeling. So sometimes your trail fix is your permanent fix.
Permanent.
Yeah, we're just gonna temp this in here. So we got out of main pit. Come to find out, at the time we had rolled across the start-finish line at 40th fastest, and we had pitted beforehand of the start-finish line, so we had about 4 to 5 minutes in pit. Roll across start-finish line at 40th fastest, which is awesome. I mean, it's
in the top 1/3.
Yeah, to top 1/3. Say it had been a whole different time. You know, if we'd have cut 5 minutes off of that and rolled across the start-finish line and then did our pit, which this is all just looking at it after the fact. Like if we'd have pitted on the other side of start-finish line, we'd have actually been like 20 in the 20th fastest. So it would have been like 25th, 26th. Again, this is looking at it after the fact, but kind of cool. I mean, it ain't nothing to shake a stick at. Doing something like that is for a first time go at it is huge. We got rolling back off the short course. Got the nav switched over to lap 2 because we did have it switched. So we were only, because lap 1 and lap 2 overlap. So you can take on the low rants and turn off lap 1 and just put lap 2 on. Well, got that switched over, got back out into the desert, went, all right, we know this section, it's semi-clear. We buzz lap 1 back to get into spooners and outer limits. Something cool. You look at this as a kid who grew up watching motocross and racing in general. I got to spend a good amount of outer limits and spooners battling back and forth with Jeremy McGrath, which you go back to think of it, it's like, oh, that's really neat. There's not a whole lot of people that can say that. Jeremy was in stock NA in a Kawasaki KRX. Huge different track width. You know, this thing's 70 plus wide. He was probably in that 65 range. So our line choices were a little bit different, but you know, we picked our way through spooners and outer limits. Got up out of outer limits, got back to remote pit, and I mean, in reality, at that point, I'm on cloud nine. I'm just having a good time. We got back to remote pit, took fuel again just to top it off, because we knew that the rocks coming ahead were not going to be simple in any way, shape, or form. We're getting into parts of the course that we hadn't pre-run yet. They double-checked the radiator, made sure that that was looking good, and we started off on kind of blind territory at that point.
Well, the rest of that was going pretty well till it wasn't.
we got into the rock trails and bebop around up some uphills and downhills, nothing super drastic. We got and caught some traffic in Sledgehammer going downhill. Picked our way through there really well. Had no complaints about the car going through sludge.
No, it ate everything up that you put in front of it.
Got through the bottom of Sledgehammer. Got down into the wash under the rocks at the very bottom of Jack. They were doing everything they could to keep us in the rocks this year. There is usually some paths that you can go up around. I put 35s on it. I jumped to Pro Mod and put 35s on for a reason. I knew that the rocks were going to be brutal, so we were preparing to run the rocks, and we got through the bottom rock section on Jackhammer, bebopping through they keep calling them nuisance rocks, but we were in the rocks, shot up to the left, and got to the first, I want to say, lower waterfall section. Got up and around pretty easy, and we were already meeting traffic. What do you say? There was probably 6 cars piled up at the
at least
at the waterfalls in Jackhammer, where I should have just bought riverfront property and stayed there for the rest of the day. But
we did without the riverfront property.
Yeah, we just took up residency there. So we waited. Couple guys were winching up the left side of Jack. Guys were winching up the right side of Jack, and left side was clearing up first. Is all right. We're going to go shoot the left side of Jackhammer here. Never been on this trail before, so I'm just reading it and hoping for the best, and got the front tires up on the rock wall and got up on the first ledge. Front tires up, and gave it a poke, and then I already had Shane was already out of the car at this point, ready to pull winch, and here's where my poor rock crawling judgment, and I go back to my roots of, I think I can be a rock bouncer, and I took one poke at it. I'm like, it was climbing, and I'm like, all right, this thing feels good. I can just climb this rock section. And for those who've met me, sometimes I'm not very smart. And I took another poke at it, and as soon as the rear tires caught, the car went back over on itself hard.
That's a true testament to the safety equipment.
I got the video on my shorts on YouTube. I got it on my Facebook. That entire rollover was like a second and a half. I mean, it went over fast. It went over hard. There's actually managed to land on that center pillar on the cage there. It's got a good little dent in it now, and it went over fast. It went over hard. I fucked up. I've talked to some people. They're like, "You should have winched there." I'm like, "Thank you, Captain Obvious. Greatly appreciated. I never thought about that."
We didn't talk about
it. The mid-race stunt was not planned, and it rolled over. It rolled over hard on Jackhammer. Ended up having to get out. We used the AGM jack and the winch and got the car righted again, and went, all right, cool, we're back up and going. Let's get this damn thing winched up Jackhammer. We were still sitting pretty at that point. There was a couple cars buzzing through. We were still in the front third of the field at this point. Sat there and waited on the right-hand side, and it's all right, that side will be easier. There's a couple guys winching through, it'll be fine. Got kind of lined up, and car spit its belt out, was having alternator issues. All right, whatever. Left side's clear. There was a car kind of winching dead behind us. Found out after the fact he was having some clutch issues. But we got lined back up on that left-hand side of Jack, had winch cable hooked up, we were pulling, and all of a sudden, guy behind me, or I heard, kind of felt it, guy behind me goes, hey, you're broke, you're broke, you're broke. What in the hell broke? I had apparently at some point in time took a hit on the left rear axle, and it broke in half. And I don't mean like it broke kind of like at the bell end, that it broke, stripped the splines out. No, this axle shaft broke direct.
Where is that?
It's sent out for warranty.
Oh, it is.
It was broke directly in half. And I can throw a picture up here. You could see afterwards where it got hit. But yeah, there's no real good point to winching up jackhammer with a dead axle. This is looking at the 3 or 4 people that I saw winch up jackhammer on dead axles. Fix your shit or don't go up the trail. It's frustrating.
You mean everybody that was in front of us?
Yeah. I watched, I don't know how many cars go up that broke and literally just plugged the line up and turned that into the disaster it was. I'm not saying I wasn't part of the problem, but when I went through and changed my axle, I was out of the way. We ended up, got the car, we were dead center between the 2 trails, and guys started just splitting the difference with us, minus the couple haphazards along the way of a few rocks getting thrown at us. I carry this car has different front and rear axles, so I carry 2 axles in the car. We pulled out, we threw the tire underneath of it, we threw a rock underneath of it, used it as a jack stand, pulled the radius rods, got the old axle out, put the new axle in, got the tire back on, and got all the tools back in the car and prepared to get back in line to, all right, let's get up this damn hill. And we're probably 45 minutes into jackhammer at this point, if not an hour. So I think we're legal residents of jackhammer at this point.
But when it comes down to it, you could probably count on one hand how many cars went past us during that 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, we still weren't losing our place by much.
So, I mean, there was a couple of cars in line. There was some struggling going on with that back section. Behind us, guys winching up that. All right, so we hopped back, kind of poked our nose in line. There was a car in front of us at that point, or a couple of Can-Ams in front of us at that point. One guy went up to the left-hand side, slid down, ended up hard on his driver's side. They were trying to winch, and they ended up losing the belt on their alternator. So they became a good portion of that obstacle. Guys are still winching the left-hand side. Another Can-Am does effectively what I would call throttle jockeyed his way up this hill and stayed on the throttle until he was also on his driver's side directly next to this other Can-Am.
Almost underneath it.
Yeah, so these 2 Can-Ams effectively decided to mate, and this is how now you get segways.
That's where you get 4-seat commanders.
So that turned into being parked on this hill behind these 2 for what was an hour. The cars started piling up behind us. This guy was struggling to get his car back righted. We had got our kind of nose up in there, and after a while, and says, "Hey, let us roll you over." He decided he did not want our help. Went, all right, well, Caveman had actually gotten down to the lower part of jackhammer at that point. So his co-driver, Sammy, she came up the hill, and Sammy and Shane started working on all right, let's get me pulled up this hill. At this point, we had drastically found out that we had undersized our winch. And this is a 6,000 pound winch. And if I get the chance to go to Hammers next year, there will not be a 6,000 pound winch on this machine. There will most likely be a 9,000 pound winch. Just my thoughts on it. 1/4 inch winch line is too small. 50 foot of drum length is too small. It just needs to be more. And hoping to rectify that this year, that this is going to end up with a 9,000 pound winch on it before I go to Hammers again. End of story. It is going to be, I want to do dumb Australian things and winch this up cliff sides. I mean, and end of story.
The winch line at one point gave loose. This was brand new.
Yeah,
after qualifying, this was brand new.
Yeah, brand new winch line. We ended up breaking. Wasn't like the line was beat up or anything. We hadn't even winched at this point, so it's not like it was old rubbed through line. It wasn't factory line. It was good high dollar stuff, and we put too much tension on it and it broke.
Did we break both of the extensions or just one?
I don't know.
So we made the winch line that came off of it into two separate winch extensions, and I know at least one of those broke. At this point, what were we, 2.5, 3 hours into?
Oh, at least.
There, and imagine being in the desert on a stair climber in a snowmobile suit. A lot like what it is to climb up and down these rocks and these hills in a 3-layer race suit. So, I mean,
well, you have to pee the entire time.
Well, right. I mean, there was that too. We'll refer the old man deal. When we got to Jack, I had to pee. So I'm like, let's get through here, get through the bottleneck, and then we can find a bush on the other side before I hop back in the car. And 3.5 hours later, you know, I have to thank Sammy for being who Sammy is. She's like,
I refer to her as wiry.
The way that she hops around on the rocks is like, you know, a combination of a billy goat and Tinkerbell. She just kind of floats. And I mean, if it wasn't for her climbing up these things and winching up the stuff up the hill, I don't know how long we would have been there, and I probably would have passed out. I mean, it was a lot. And there's really nothing you can do. You just grin and bear it. And
yeah,
I mean, I've been doing this for decades, you know, recovering things because I make dumb choices off-road as well. So you just got to stick with it. It was one of those, you hate to say it, but if anything could have gone wrong, it did. And for everybody on that hill, not just us. We're not saying that, you know, we were unprepared. We had faulty parts, and everybody that was involved in any recovery on that hill while we were there were having the same issues we were. Broken winch lines, dead winches, everybody.
It was there was what you would refer to as a cluster and or struggle fuck.
It
was bad. I mean, I know there's a ton of memes out there. There's the dead golf cart parking lot that somebody put on there. I mean, it is what it is. It sucked. It really, really sucked. There was a couple predetermined witch points up there.
They both broke.
Yep, those straps broke, and a lot of the rocks up on the hillside where everyone was watching.
They started coming down.
Yeah, those rocks were just moving. I mean, it was bad. You were watching other drivers come up and be like, "Well, what's going on? Why can't we move these cars?" And it's like,
yeah,
what do you want us to do, man? I saw, I don't know how many. Well, you can just pick it up and move it. Okay, like sure, I can, you know, grab 10 guys and pick up this car on 35s and just with, you know, 18 to 20 inches suspension travel. We'll just pick it up and move it.
Yeah,
you got it, bud.
Over boulders the size of Volkswagens.
Uphill. We walk through the snow uphill both ways. That's exactly the feeling I get out of this, the Facebook stuff after the fact.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Here in Minnesota, we're keyboard Vikings.
Yeah, something like keyboard Viking warriors. I believe we had the reference talk as we're going up to Jackhammer, referencing Forrest Gump, where it's like, yeah, you know, it's this great moment. It's like, I really got to pay.
I shouldn't have drank all those Dr. Pepper.
So, unfortunately, I'm sitting there in the car and I'm frustrated. Everyone outside the car is frustrated. Everyone trying to get through this is frustrated. There's a lot of undue tension and frustration going. Jackhammer was just a ball of emotion, just a glass case of emotion. I'm sitting there in the car, and all of a sudden I see track official, and it's Brian Trotter, and I've got to deal with Trotter at some of the Ultra 4 races and doing recovery at Crandon, and see Trotter walk by in his military flight helmet, and he goes, you, and you, this is what's going to happen, and then cable just starts getting pulled. A guy next to me ended up finding out afterwards it was Gavin and Stuart Smith, which was actually the guys we started next to on the line to start the race. They had a Warn 9000 on their car, and they tried looping up and pillow blocking me to get me up the hill so we could get them up the hill. And this was after our rope had broke. Then that strap on the rock ahead of us broke, and that came like,
that might be where that dent came from.
No, it hit the suspension. But they had that hook on there, and anyway, they strap broke, and there's a reason I run rope. And if you've, for some ungodly reason, don't know the difference between winch rope and winch cable, figure it out. Rope is, the kinetic energy doesn't travel; it drops, unless you have like a gigantic ball of clevises and rope shackles.
It still doesn't store it
right
anywhere near like a steel cable does. So
yeah,
the cable itself will cut you in half, much less what's attached to it.
Right. For those who watch us and don't have any off-road deals, you do not pull or winch with cable if at all possible in an off-road situation, because that's what gets people hurt. Strap broke. They finally decided at this point that they've had enough of the game of, I forget what the little game is to where you have to back up all the little cars to get everyone out of there.
I don't know.
But that game was done. They got one of the recovery vehicles up there they had for a hook point, 12,000 pound winch, started pulling cars up the hill. And Brian did what Brian does best and told people what was going to happen.
Even at that point, I mean, once we started pulling the car up, we were so wedged on one of the rocks, and what ended up happening is you've got this rock the size of a Volkswagen that he's kind of pitched on top of, and everybody that's gone around it or through that area has spit out all the little rocks and all the dirt and all the sand next to it. So you're standing in a hole waist high. You can, some of the video that's out there, I think it was Madram or somebody had that, where I was watching myself with the jack trying to lift the car up off of the point of this rock so we could pull forward. That's where the strap broke, our winch line broke. Yeah. He was wedged up on that. Even that 12,000 pound winch couldn't move us.
Yeah, it was just full blown turtle, just tires in the air, not doing a damn thing. I think if we wouldn't have had anything attached, we could have just took the car, spun around, and drove back down the hill.
At this point,
it should have. would have been more cost productive. But yeah, we got up out of there with the help of Track and Brian Trotter. Thank you again for everything you do for that.
He was awesome. I mean, that tensions were so high with all the co-drivers, the drivers, and all that in the situation. And he came in, he took control of the situation and made shit happen.
Yep.
And at that point, everybody's frustrated. That's what that situation needed. So thank you for coming in and flexing the muscle that you have for a track official.
He's got muscle regardless, but
Right.
He practices doing military things for fun.
Well,
we just races, hobbies. We got up and we just pulled the car off to the side and just stopped for a second. I got out of the car, got some water. Shane got some water, and he's sitting there checking on me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Dude, you were the one just out of the car for 4 hours. You look like you're gonna die." Like we're working together. I've never physically seen you that exhausted.
That was a lot.
I mean,
and so after we got the car out of there and got it onto to decent ground where you could pull it out of the way, I had to walk back and get all of our donuts and winch extensions and soft shackles and all that. So I walked back down this hill that on video doesn't look like it's much of a climb, but it is. By the time I got back up to the recovery vehicle, that 4Runner that was sitting there, the gal that was sitting in the 4Runner stopped me and made me grab water out of the back of it. She's like, "You look terrible. So your skin's gray. You need to stop, grab a water." And I mean, I'm a stubborn ass. I was gonna walk through it and wait till I got back to drink some water out of my Camelback and whatever. But I mean, thank you for doing that, because I don't know that I would have made it that extra 50 yards or whatever the hell it was. It's a lot, and I don't know that I've been that out of it. I mean, at that point, you're moving on pure adrenaline.
Yeah, and when you finally get the chance to stop and you just kind of go, bleh.
Yep. But I was concerned about you because I watched you bounce your helmet off of the car when you rolled over, and
I still think you're seeing things.
No, I wasn't.
There's no mark on the helmet.
But then from that point, it was game on. I mean,
so
we had to get the car over, then we had to get the car fixed, and then we had to get the car through. So there was no.
I mean, it was like even in the car, I'm just sitting there the entire time yelling at people. It was like, why can't we do it? Why? I'm frustrated inside the car going, let's do something. Let's do something. And it didn't help. It was what it was. We got up there. The guys that were behind us, we helped throw their cable back in, and we said, all right, let's see where we're at. We knew at that point in time that it was pretty low on the chances we were going to make it back to remote pit before cutoff time. But let's see where we end up. I mean, we're at the top of this hill. We're in the car. Let's go. So we got up through the top of Jackhammer. Missed. They gave us an option to go up through Jackhammer or down through. It wasn't Balpine. That was that lap 3 trail. Anyway, they had another trail down there that was more rock, but wasn't a big uphill. Anyway, we continued up through the top of the hill there, and we met like 3 other cars, and this is a goat path up a hill that is basically straight down on either side with a couple little step ups in it. And we watched a couple guys winch and struggle, and we looked at the time and realized, all right, there's barely a chance we'd make it to Chocolate Thunder at this point, let alone all the way down to remote pit after the fact, because you had Chocolate Thunder, Dirty Love, Claw Hammer, Thor's Hammer, all this to make it back before you could even make it to remote pit. And it's like, well, it is what it is. We decided at that point to pull the car off to the side, and there was a couple other guys that were broke up there. Decided, all right, we're done. We're calling it. It is what it is. There's no point with a limited winch line and all this to even continue with what we're doing. All we're going to do is kick our own asses farther and possibly put ourselves in a worse situation to get out of this race course, because we were going to be up there till dark. We had to stay up there for roughly an hour after that for course close, which, I mean, it was kind of neat. You're way up on top of this hill. You see Hammertown. You see the helicopter buzzed us by a couple times, and it wasn't until we radioed into race ops, says, "Hey, we're all here," and they're like, "Yep, okay, sounds good. Don't go anywhere. We'll wait to let you know." And it wasn't until after we went to leave we realized Caveman was on top of the hill with us, because we were just sitting in the car, kind of done with it at that point. We back up to leave and realize, hey, we know that guy. So we had to go back down. Ended up having to go down Jackhammer to go back to camp, and then effectively curled up into a ball and die at that point. It was a lot. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of adrenaline. We had just went through our concealed carry class yesterday, and they were talking about, recollection after something happens, and you kind of get like blips of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely, I got back, I was cashed.
The time, like you lost time when we were at Jackhammer, and when we pulled the car aside once we got through all of that and sat down, and you said something about us being there for 3.5 hours. I mean, I knew we were there for a little while, but if I would have testified in court at that point that we were there for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, we were.
So I mean, it's a bit of a blur.
I gave me a T-shirt that made that Jackhammer established, or the population during standard is like 0, and then the population during hammers in the UTV race is like 85.
Yeah.
Residents of Jackhammer, Johnson Valley, 2026. That's exactly what it felt like. Is we just should have. Where was our overlanding tent? We could have just got our viewing tent and set up there. Been done with it. Started selling hot dogs, pina coladas. But yeah, we made it back. We did actually get back and have pina coladas. Apparently, it's an oddball conversation to tell people that your blender was residing in your bathroom. I only got one sink in the camper. It's in the bathroom. How else do I rinse my blender out? We made it back. Had pina coladas and returned a bunch of stuff and just sat there and kind of took it in. Got out of there. Once I left Friday night, you left Saturday morning. Cody and Troy and I, we drove 30 hours. It ended up being like 32 hours overall straight home. Got home Sunday morning at 4:15 and beat you home by like 2 hours, and you took a damn airplane.
Well, I beat you by 2 hours.
Yeah.
I got home at 3:30.
Yeah.
3:30 Sunday morning.
He took a flight from Vegas, and I drove, and I almost beat him back.
Yeah. Thank you, Sun Country.
And haven't really got a chance to, we went through everything in kind of recollection. For those who have never or are thinking of doing hammers, a couple numbers for you. I spent just under $2,200 in fuel in my dually. Traveled roughly 4,000 miles. Trackers, entry fees, stuff like that. I think USAC, all that. I want to say I was somewhere in like the $3,300 range. Pit spot was decent. We rented a porta potty where we're there. That was like $375. It's not cheap. I don't regret doing it in any way, shape, or form. It was absolutely worth every penny. Thank you Ultra 4 and Hammer King Productions for putting it on, and everyone that volunteers to make it happen. So I do a couple races up here, and I understand it's a small scale. It sucks. On a scale that size, I can only imagine. I mean, there were over 120 racers in the 4,900 class, let alone everything else. So,
when you're there and you look at the size of that event, it speaks volumes about how they organize that. And when we had two drivers meetings, you had the pre-qualifying driver meeting.
Yeah, we had the
post-qualifying driver meeting.
The Sunday night, Wednesday night driver meetings.
Yeah, and so you're standing there, and I'm sure there's other people than just the drivers and co-drivers at these meetings, but I mean, it's a hell of a lot of people that are there, and people are respectful enough that the guys on the stage can hear you holler a question. So you said this about this line and at this turn for this class, and the guy that's up on stage could hear them and answer back. I mean, that for all the racers, I mean, there's people that can ruin anything when you get a whole group of people around there. But I mean, for the most part, everybody there was kind of there.
Everyone was there
with the same intentions, so nobody was better than anybody.
The guys that were there to race, and that was the end of it. There wasn't a bunch of. It was just probably one of the best driver meetings I've been to. It was straightforward. There wasn't a bunch of bullshit. This is what it is. You are hitting the RCPs. You're hitting the VCPs.
Wasn't a lot of crying like when we were at Grandin.
It is what it is, and it was the people were there to race. They wanted to race. End of story. I would suggest if you want to do hammers, pull the trigger and do it. I want to do it again. I want to do it next week. I would love to do it more than once a year. It was amazing. It was a great experience. I put a post out earlier this week on the Book of Faces. Thanks, Shane, for getting in the car with me. If you've met me over the years, I got some gripe years and years ago for just being a rock bouncer. I beat my my off-road tube buggy to a point of like people are like, you sir have some screws loose. So, and I know a lot of people give me shit about it, but if you're willing to get in the car with me for that amount of time, it's greatly appreciated. And then anyone that was, huge shout out to Brandon Anderson. You're the biggest reason I'm doing this. You allowed me to tag along to some races with you, and I believe your wonderful wife Jess shared it that on Facebook. There was a meme talking about, real friends don't just help them spend money; they also get you into financially crippling hobbies. I will never financially recover from this. It's the meme that needs to go there. And I appreciate you to no end for all the help you've given me and helping me and get involved in this sport and give me something to enjoy. Jess, thank you for all your help. Thank you for running Remote Pit. Thank you for helping keeping heads on straight or threatening to crack skulls if absolutely necessary. Thank you to Jeremiah, Cody, Troy, Chris, Ken and Heather, Sammy, Steve. No, his name is Steve. I
think so.
Patrick, Eric, Daryl, Jarrell and the Dumford crew. Thanks to Fox for helping me tune shocks. Thanks to the sponsors, Maxxis Tire, Bullite Wheels, Caves Customs, and Dakota Alignment. Thank you guys for putting some faith in a guy that ain't been racing for but a short period of time. Thanks for, you know, giving me the opportunity and the help to make this happen. It's all greatly appreciated. Thanks to Shane's wife, Nicole, for letting me borrow him for a couple weeks. I know there were some dogs that were not happy about the rental I took. Has Yoda recovered from his?
He'll be fine.
What are your thoughts on hammers?
It's an experience. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not something that is for the weak, and not getting there is a challenge in itself, and participating in it even is like a pit member. When we went out a couple of years ago with Caveman, and that is a cool experience in itself. The race, and I've been watching this race for, I'd say, 15 years.
I remember tuning in.
I mean, the beginning years of this, they didn't have a whole lot of coverage, you know, that you could sit and be a spectator on your couch. So I know it's been a good number of years that we've been watching it, and you see people get up on stage, not just in 4900, but like 4400, and I've always kind of chuckled, you know, the co-driver, get me out of this car.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, you have a much greater appreciation for those guys rolling across those stages that have finished.
It's a hard race, and you know, the big racers, they always have these spectacular speeches when Pam comes to try and talk to them and all that stuff, and it's more than just taking this vehicle and running it through the desert. It's a mind race. It's an adrenaline race. It's an endurance race.
Well,
there's so much planning that the two of us, I mean, we work together, so a lot of the planning has been bits and pieces over months and months and months of what about this, what about this, what about this. But honestly, for an unbacked couple of guys, that
it's where
a few weekends in the garage, you got a hell of a lot more hours in this than.
Yeah, it's a home built car. This was a insurance wreck buyback that I got a hold of like last March. I haven't even owned this car for a year yet. This is cave, you know, built my own cage, did my own parts, and did everything from from working overtime. Took my work bonus, that all went into the car. I sold a truck that I had built last year, put all that money into the car. I mean, I wasn't going to go into this in a half-ass situation, and I at least showed up with a car that I think could have finished it.
At the very minimum, we're competitive.
And I know that going into this, one of the things that needs a bunch of work is me, but I'm going to keep trying harder. I got a list of races I want to do this year. Already, you know, did the planning out of like, here's where my vacation is going to lie for this race and this race and this race, and the couple of wheeling events that I do regardless, like Rock Rash and stuff like that. It's like, this is where my vacation goes for these events, and we're planning to do the 12-hour out in Broadview with the Yellowstone Offroad Racing Series. I'm going to run Central Series for Ultra 4 in points, and that includes Sturgis and Attica, and then Kentucky in October for Nationals. I mean, got a list of things I plan to do. Run a couple of the races in the new Iowa series that we raced last October. And there's plans. Gonna keep pushing at this and see what I can make of it. Gonna keep doing the YouTube thing and try to see if it can help fundness, or also in that same point, if this is something you're interested in or you want to support in any way, shape, or form. I'm willing to talk. If there's groups I align with, there's parts I can use, or we're willing to work together to put some sponsors on this car to help keep it going. I'm very not great on the asking for help. I would rather do stuff like sell a truck and fund it that way than ask for money. But at the same point, I know it's not I'm still looking back at the amount of money I spent in the past couple of months and just cringing drastically. Like I could have paid my truck off. But you don't, you can't take money with you when you're dead. But you can look back on life and have some great experiences with some great people, and that's part of what this is. It's definitely a labor of love and enjoyment. It's not something you do as a just because type deal. I wanted to do this, and like I said earlier, I'm gracious that I've had the life experiences that have allowed me to even try to do this once. And again, I will never financially recover from this, and that's okay. But to wrap this up, looking at the timer on there, we've probably already bored you to death, and I'll try to put some pictures in here. But Traction Off-Road Racing on Facebook, Traction Off-Road Racing on Instagram. If you're watching this, you're already on my YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. I'll throw some pictures up on this and some videos to hopefully make this less boring. But thanks for tuning in.